Hello, is this thing on?
This
Hello,
is.
is it on?
Yes, it
All
is
right.
on.
So, you guys know me. You guys know how I view things in terms of politics, and you guys know where I stand when it comes to mentioning politics on my channels and anything I do content wise. And you guys know I really stray away from it. That being said, with what's been going on in Venezuela, I know I made the recent video kind of joking about it, but genuinely it's something I feel really passionate about. And today I'm actually have somebody I know personally who I will not be naming for their own safety, on things that they've gone through and how they feel about and what's been going on realistically. Because if you're watching this video and you clicked on this video, you're interested because you've seen what's been going around Venezuela. For some reason, this is more of an opinionated statement by myself. People have been divided on the fact whether or not bringing a dictatorship was down. Yes, that's an opinionated topic or opinionated statement, but the nature of it all has been kind of torn in two, and a lot of people are kind of thrown aback by this. So, me and my friend here thought that it would be a good idea to kind of have somebody who's there living throughout all of this and grew up through this, kind of break it down. And, I have a couple questions for him regarding everything that's been going down. So, I mean, we're going to call you what? We'll call you V in reference to Venezuela. It'll keep you anonymous. His voice is going to be marbled, so you guys won't know who this is. So V, regarding everything. I mean, go if you want to say anything to get yourself introduced here or start off.
Hey, hi, I'm V. I've lived in Venezuela since I was born. I have stayed here in my own house since I have memory. I'm currently 21 years old, and I basically experienced everything that happened in this January 3rd, 2026. Uh, I'm making this video first of all because I know many people on the internet having their own opinions on that, but at the same time, there's a lot of misinformation about things that are happening and things that are occurring around here. And I want to give my perspective of as a Venezuelan who has seen what happened with its own eyes, has felt it, and has basically experienced a piece of history that I never thought I would see in my life.
I guess we've talked about it a little bit earlier today, but how do you feel about everybody saying like America had no right to take Maduro, and that in Portland, Oregon today there was a protest to quote unquote free Maduro. I didn't think it was real. I thought it was fake. There was free Maduro protests in Portland today. I mean, you've seen how it's split, mainly America. But what do you? I guess how do you feel about people who've never seen what you've gone through and seen what you went through and seen what you dealt? Say that Maduro should still be free, or that the U.S. had no right to pull him out of Venezuela.
Okay, first point I want to point out is that, uh, yes, I do agree with people that Maduro doing this was something really unnecessary. It was an attack, for say the least. But at the same time, Maduro targets weren't their civilians. It wasn't whatever people normally say about this. But we have to take something in mind that Maduro is not the president of Venezuela. He's just in power because he says so. He in July 2024, Venezuela had its first elections since, if I'm not wrong, 2022, 2020. But if I'm not wrong, we didn't have those elections either because they were postponed. July 28, 2024, it was my first time as a person to actually vote for my country. I went to my school, which I graduated from, and I placed my vote to vote against Maduro. The same day, Maduro is proclaimed the new president of Venezuela again since 2013, and has been still in power to today. Well, not anymore, but the still same government is still in power. What I'm saying is that Maduro is not the president of Venezuela because he hasn't, and the CNE, the Central National of Elections, that is in charge of the elections in Venezuela, hasn't published any ballots or any results to show that he won. And all of the results that have been shown and all of the ballots have been publicized by the opposition. All of these results show a landslide win to the opposition by a 67%, meaning that Edmundo González Urrutia is the president of Venezuela, but he cannot be empowered because Maduro said he won. So basically, he's the one. Him being pulled out of Venezuela was basically taking a person who had kidnapped an entire nation for himself, a person who basically said, I am the president because I say so, even though I haven't shown you all the results, even though all the results have been publicized by the opposition, by the United Nations and the International Tribunal of Justice, and recognized Edmundo González Urrutia as the president. Now, for my second point, I wanted to point out is that, yes, what happened is something that will not be forgotten, and is something that I myself will not erase out of my memory. But at the same time, me as a Venezuelan, I'm glad that a person who has tortured, imprisoned, killed a lot of young people, silenced media, silenced a lot of people, censorship all around, and just laughing in front of people who are starving, while the nation is literally starving to death. He publicized videos of himself eating an entire banquet. I don't know what's wrong with him too, but at the same time, we are glad he's out. He's a person who basically has ruined our nation to a point that is no longer recoverable. And at the same time, don't people blame me on the sanctions doesn't really make sense because all the sanctions are directly targeted towards the government. And the sanction has never really affected the nation. The only reason why, the only thing the sanctions affect us, if I'm not wrong, is the selling of oil. But we're not really selling any oil. We're just giving it away to Russia, China, Iraq, and Iran and Cuba. It's not being mobilized. So, in my opinion, ending all of this part is that Trump did have a justified reason to take Maduro out of power. He's not the legitimate president. He's a narco president, which basically just sells only narcotics and sends us to the U.S. He's a terrorist. He's a mass murderer. And to be honest, the president of the United States does have the final word on who to attack. And he doesn't really need approval of the Congress because most wars done by many political parties in the US have happened without the Congress approving. So Trump had all the right to do it and can do it without Congress approval.
I honestly thought that it was going to be more of an occupational thing, that they get the foothold, they take him out of the country, and then they leave a policing force. I was surprised to see that we actually pulled out right after we got him. I mean, go figure, the whole reason we were there was to get him, but I figured what was going to happen was, all right, starting today, we take Maduro out, and then we keep the nation stabilized by leaving a policing force or a coalition force or whatever be in the presidential palace or wherever we pulled him out of. I don't know where we pulled him out of. I guess that being said, I guess some people who might be watching this would be a little bit interested to know, where were you when it happened? Because you called me at like 2 in the fucking morning for me, and the first thing I saw was Indo texting me, "Have you heard from?" And I'm like, "Oh shit." So where were you, down to what you can remember, the night everything went down?
In the hours of the early morning, I was just sitting on my bed playing with my PlayStation. Uh, because it's normal, you know how Latinos celebrate New Year and Christmas, so fireworks will still continue like until like the end of the month. At first, I thought, because I heard the first boom, I thought, oh damn, that just must be fireworks. I don't really worry. Then, when out of the sudden everything started shaking, and it just sounded so strong of the explosion that I just jumped out of my bed, opened my door. My parents were sleeping. My brother was awake, fortunately. Uh, and I just look out of the window, and the first thing I see is a huge explosion coming from the other side of the mountain. I live really close by to Forte Tuna, which is the place where all these events happened. So basically, first thing I saw when I look out the window from my room, from my brother's house, I mean, from my brother's room, the first thing I see is a huge tower of smoke accompanied by 5 huge explosions. From what I thought, there were sirens just howling, like from an air raid. Turns out were the howlings of Tomahawk missiles hitting the ground. Which it was, first of all, it's scary. It was one of the most horrifying things I've seen in my life. I wouldn't wish it on any human being that for them to experience this. And to be honest, I did see death right in front of my eyes. It's something that I really don't want anyone to see with its own eyes. It was strange, first of all, because we basically didn't know what happened. But talking with my dad a little, and we basically said to each other that, yeah, it's the Americans coming to get them. It's the Americans coming to finish what they had to finish a long time ago. Other thing we thought is that there was another coup d'etat, another coup by their own armed forces, but turns out it wasn't. Uh, the strikes continued until like 2:40 in the morning, and then we started hitting helicopters passing by on top of our house. From what I saw with my eyes, there were multiple Blackhawks, a single Chinook, and an Apache, and all coming together and then just disappearing in the frontier right behind St. Mountain where my house is. And the only thing I hear is just a firing of machine guns, heavy autocannon fire, and and multiple explosions going around. And I don't know if you can see in the video I sent you, and if you can put it in there, you can barely see the trails of rockets coming out of a helicopter. I don't know if you can see them well, but they're really difficult to see. My mom did catch up to them because the one who recorded this video was my mother. And yeah, it was the thing I just said them. Of course, we were worried. I wasn't looking at the window all the time because, it weren't literal
it's not gonna
fighting
help,
so on. Yeah, it's not going to help. So while I was going downstairs to the kitchen to fill some jugs with water just in case things go bad, me and my brother were fixing things in the kitchen, so we're ready for any kind of like conflict or we have to stay indoors without electricity and all that stuff. Something that is really common in here to stay without electricity. That's something I will explain later, but then I look out the window of my kitchen and I see a lot of flares coming out of the sky. And that's what it thought to be a Sukhoi 30, but it could also be an F-35 because after the explosions ended, all the helicopters left and all that was in the sky was smoke. The entire capital was without electricity and without smoke. That was around about 3 a.m., 3:50 a.m. I just looked out the window and it was nothing. It was quiet. The only thing you could hear was the sound of planes in the sky, just the roaring of jet engines. It was chilling because you just witnessed one of the most crucial events in history and one of the most horrifying events in my life, and it's over in less than 2 hours. And it was just quiet after that. After 4 a.m., me and my dad turned on the television, just waiting for news. Nothing really out of the ordinary, just seeing the attacks on Higuerote, popular airport in my country, which also got bombed, in La Guaira, which is the main coastal city in my country, just that also got bombed. Basically, it was just news. Just we realized that the Americans actually attacked us. Well, not really attacked. They came to attack them because they didn't really attack us. They just did us everyone all of us a huge favor. But at the same time, you have to take something in mind that even though those people were fighting for the government, those people were still Venezuelans. And it really hurts to see people from your own country just being killed by people from another country. But at the same time, it was something that was about to happen because Maduro and his folk have been given so many opportunities to get out of the country, and yet they didn't listen. Around 4 a.m., a friend from Spain texted me. He said, "Hey, you should check the news right now." He sent me a link of his news broadcast that he had on his television. And the first news, one of the greatest news in my life, were received that Maduro was captured by the United States, officially stated by Donald Trump in the White House Twitter account. And you won't believe how happy I felt when I heard that news. I literally just stood up in shock first and just started crying out of happiness. We're talking about a guy who basically turned my country into a place where no one likes. It was one of the richest countries in the world. It was called Saudi America for the sole reason that everyone went here just to win money, to produce, to establish companies. It was one of the richest countries in America. And now seeing one of the guys that were solely responsible for the downfall of my country just getting captured by them, I just started crying. And I went to my mom. First thing I did was hug her and tell her it's all over. It's finally over. I can finally see the country you guys actually grew up in and not the country I grew up in. And we all just hugged each other and basically just started praying. Yeah, it was a really touching moment, but me and my dad were aware that things weren't over. Around 5 a.m., after confirmation that Maduro has been captured, Delcy Rodriguez, one of Maduro's right hand members, takes over control Venezuela because she's the vice president of the country. She assumed control and demanded, obviously, proof that Maduro was still alive, which she got, with a picture of him holding the water bottle and the sunglasses that became a meme in less than a day. Yeah, but just because this happened doesn't mean it's over. You have to keep in mind that only getting Maduro out was the first part of what's going on, because Maduro is not the one in charge of all the government and in charge of all the things that happen in the country. We also have to take into account Diosdado Cabello, Vladimir Moreno Lopez, Tarek William Saab, Delcy Rodriguez. All those four people are the main heads of the government. And if you know something about Venezuelan politics, you know that Diosdado Cabello and Tarek William Saab and Vladimir Moreno Lopez are one of the most evil people you will actually see. Those people have kidnapped other people, innocents, have tortured them, have put in the center of torture, the biggest center of torture in the world, in the whole of the American continent, which is called El Helicoide. And you can hear much about what goes inside of that. But as I said, it's still not over. Things are about to happen in the near future. When? I don't know. How? I also don't know. But I can assure you that Venezuela is now facing a time of change, a time that has been people have waited for the past 20 years.
It's crazy because obviously nobody cares where the where the guy from Florida was when this all went down because, but you know, V had called me in the morning, like at 2, told me what was going down. I'm like, "Are you good?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Just like I'm shaking up." I'm like, "Yeah, well, never go figure." But um, I probably was a little bit more at ease, obviously, than him being in an active war zone. But I figured the whole reason, like when I told him, "Yo, keep me posted. You know, blow up my phone if you have to, or have Indo blow up my phone." Um, I figured they were there for Maduro. I mean, if you guys have paid attention to what's been going on from the last fucking few months, things were building up for the longest time. So I didn't imagine it was just going to be for some reason, the U.S. striking random targets. When he mentioned that he heard strikes going down, and through recent conversations I had with individuals, I figured they were there for the airports, military sites, and of course, you know, small M, Maduro. It was like that. It was fucking crazy to actually see it go down, get the footage. And you said you sent me a video. Where?
I think I sent it to Indo. If not, I sent it to Taser. Taser has the video.
Okay, yeah, I'll
You
get
can
the
ask her
video.
to send it to you.
Yeah, I'll get the video off of her.
But
Um,
first thing, the strikes. First of all, I wanted to say that the strikes were precise. They were
yeah,
extremely precise. From what I see to my window, was only the 4 targets that were illuminated, which were La Carlota, which is one of the minority bases in Caracas,
yeah,
Fortuna, which is the whole military compound that is in the city. It's where a lot of the military resources are located. And right next to it, it's some storage units with tanks and everything and all that, where supposedly Maduro was staying at, which is close to Miraflores, which is the presidential house.
yeah,
It was, first of all, as a person who's really into the military, this was one of the most impressive operations in history. This is something that you didn't think it would happen in less than 3 hours, and they captured one of the most sought after men, and one of the most important criminals in the entire of the Western Hemisphere, just captured in less than 2 hours.
and I think you and I talked about it earlier that It's not like Venezuela is just a fucking third world country that can't fucking put up fists. Like it has the largest air defense out of any Southern American country, I believe. Correct?
That is correct.
Jesus.
Venezuela, as of last 2 days,
Mm-hmm.
it is basically the biggest anti-aircraft defense system that exists in the entire of Latin America. We have
Jesus.
radar guided satellites from China, a lot of Russian anti-aircraft missiles that covers the entirety of the country and the coastline. What I'm basically, obviously, America was smart and started doing strikes with supersonic missiles that obviously the radars couldn't detect in time and couldn't intercept in time. Also, they just deleted the entirety of the air defenses close by.
Yeah.
And F-35s assisted in the attack too, if I'm not wrong. And I wouldn't be surprised if a corraller was in there trying to confuse radar signs. Because what is a box system going to do when he sees more than 50 missiles simultaneously just going in and striking down?
Yeah.
Also, because of the time, it was 2 in the morning, most of the military operators are basically sleeping.
Yeah.
They weren't basically ready for what was about to happen. So, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
dude.
basically what happened. They attacked it by surprise. Also, Trump was smart. Like, he picked the perfect date to attack. It was a Friday, nothing was going on, everyone was going back to their houses after working,
Mm-hmm.
and there was basically no one outside because it was the end of a workday, and it was clear skies. The skies were extremely clear, and you could go outside and you could see the stars and even. And all of a sudden, I woke up in the morning, and the only thing I see is fog. Fog of all the dirt that was picked up by the missiles. It's just fog. It felt eerie. It felt something like out of place because I have never in my country seen a morning like this. But at the
Yeah.
same time, it was the first sunrise that I felt that it felt good. It was one of the first sunrise I seen like actually feel like it was something amazing to see.
100%.
It
Yeah.
it yeah, it's just something you feel that things are actually changing after me facing this government since I was born.
Yeah.
And now things can change for my future and the future of my children and the future of my grandchildren and the future of my nephews and the future of everyone in my country can actually see something change.
Yeah. I mean, you've lived through what is the biggest, I'm willing to say, change in geopolitical power since I want to say maybe fuck. It's kind of hard to scale this. This is probably the biggest change and biggest knockdown of any regime that has occurred maybe within the last 30 years. So I mean, yeah, it I could know I sitting on this side of the pond, it's crazy to see what it goes down and that I've never been succumbed to any of that shit. So I only imagine what the fuck it feels like to have grown up through it and see it finally fall. That's fucking, I can't only imagine. Um
Yeah, look, we're all happy. Everyone's celebrating that it's gone. Of
yeah,
course, things are not over. We still have these
100%.
four big targets in there that need to be taken care of or need to be extracted out.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm about to say may sound controversial, but Trump, what Trump did, and I don't like Trump. I still think Trump is one of the most insane people in this planet.
Mm.
But from what I'm about to say, that he actually did something so good for the world, something that benefits almost all of the continent of America in less than a day.
Yeah.
Of course, there's another way of him showing power. Of course, there's another way of him saying that do not mess with me and you have to listen for what I say. Yes, that is true. But at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, he just took down one of the biggest criminal minds in the entire of the continent of America.
I guess this kind of follows up with what you said that we still have four political figures in Venezuela that are still, holding up the government currently. I guess this is more speculation at this point, but when Trump did the debrief on what went down, he mentioned that we were going to be effectively running Venezuela. Do you think he's either gonna give them a, hey, you saw what just happened, so you could step down, will come grab you, will give you a deal, or do you think they're willing to do another show of force just to get those 4 out of power as well?
I cannot obviously for guarantee what's going to happen.
Of course.
It's it's military stuff. No one actually knows what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But what I'm about to say is that what many people get wrong about what's going on. The U.S. will have to put temporary power on Venezuela because once you take down a government, you have to find a way to stabilize it back again.
Yeah, it becomes your
The
responsibility.
reason why Trump wants someone it becomes your responsibility. Once Trump finds a way to stabilize and remove all of Maduro's assets, all of the Bolivarian government out of the country, what many people think is that he's just going to put someone in there and leave. No, this is not going to happen like Iraq. As I mentioned before, we already voted for a new president, which is Edmundo González Urrutia and Maria Corina Machado. Both of them are going to be the presidents. Well, Edmundo is going to be the president of Venezuela, but Maria Corina Machado is going to be the vice president. What Trump said is that they're going to stay until a full transition of the government is completed. Once that transition of the new government power to the opposition is done, he's just going to leave there and he's just going to take off the oil and do the things he had to do with the oil and leave. That's another point we have to take out is the oil. What happens with the oil? What will happen? But to finish this, no, Trump is not going to put someone, as many people say, Trump isn't going to put a you in power because you basically don't know all the political stuff.
Yeah.
I have to say, Maria Corina Machado is a Catholic woman, and is I'd say there's a woman of great power too. And Edmundo is a really old sweet man. And both of them have been targets of harassment and put a bounty on their heads because they won the elections. You know, a democratic government, as a claimed democratic government who said and claimed that won the elections, now all of a sudden wants the head of their main opponent in a stick. And they will pay you for it. You think that's a democratic government for you? You think if Trump won the elections and now he put a bounty on Biden, you think that that's democracy for you?
I guess going forward too, because in the near future there's going to be action done in the near future.
Yes.
I think everybody can understand that. I guess with it kind of hovering over your head currently, how exactly the U.S. is going to instill their own kind of policing power into Venezuela to keep it stabilized in the meantime. How does that make you feel? I've been seeing mixed opinions on that. While I've been seeing Venezuelans who are absolutely so happy that Maduro's gone, they're a bit like, okay, the U.S. is here. You know, we have a decent track record with them when they came here, but, you know, some are a little bit nervous. Some of it be done by fear-mongering people from the U.S. who are like, he's a Nazi, he's a fascist, he's going to fucking ruin your lives. And then some people are just nervous because it is a bit of a volatile time where power grabs are going to be pretty visible, you know, like how does that make you feel personally? Like within the upcoming future, the U.S. will be kind of the deciding force in your nation for a little bit.
Being honest with you, I also have my, like, how do you say this? I don't feel right with America being in power of my country because, let's be honest, Trump is not really a great leader. He is not the perfect leader either. And he has shown to have a lot of power hunger and a lot of really controversial picks. But at the same time, as I said to many people, this is way better than having Maduro in power. Because at least with Trump in power, we can actually go outside and express ourselves and criticize things for what are happening, but not in my country. That is one of the reasons why I'm doing this conversation with you, with my identity censored, with my identity hidden, because I know if this goes out and people find out who I am, the first thing they're going to do is arrest me, charge me with terrorism and being a traitor, and then put me in a helicoide and torture me almost to death. You know, something that they did to my dad, something that my dad has suffered upon even though he was an innocent man. He was tortured, he was taken into prison without being a judge. He didn't have any kind of sentencing. The only sentencing he had, he was under suspicion of under terrorism for an act that he didn't do. You see how sensitive these things are. It's not something I want to face. It's not something I really want to see with my own eyes either. And I'm doing this with my identity hidden, not because I'm a coward, It's because I'm really taking care of my life. I'm taking care of my health. It's I know many people are gonna say in the comments that why is he hiding his identity and that thing?
Yeah.
Because I genuinely scared of what can happen to me. I genuinely know what can happen to me if I speak out in public.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
second of all,
no, go.
about Trump being in power. As I said before, this is a way better change. It's better to have a change than not have it. It's better to have a change of a new kind of system rather than having the same people who have been ruining your country for the past 27 years to keep going without facing
Yeah.
any consequences.
This is also just kind of a message to anybody who'd be watching this. This isn't every bit of this isn't over exaggerated. I've known V here for quite a while, and trust me when I tell you this. The over the years of me knowing him, I've learned tidbits here and there of what it's been like, and he's not lying when it comes to stuff with his dad. And there's been instances where we kind of needed to scrub the fact that we knew him for a bit and anywhere that we could because of things that had gone down. Like some people will hear the statement where like, oh, like, I have to be careful with what I say online because they will, they do try to pull it back to you, where we saw it firsthand that he had to scrub everything and anything that he had ever said within, our area of interaction. And it was like for majority of us, it was just like, oh shit, like this is like legit. Some people will be that like, yeah, you could be a little careful. No, like it is to a level that even the people around you are kind of very wary of mentioning your name or mentioning anything about you at risk of that compromising you. Like this shit is it's a lot more intricate than what some people tend to think, because I'm not gonna lie, I was one of those people prior to experiencing anything like that upon his behalf, seeing how bad it gets. Like it is a very prejudiced and how do I say this, a aggressive system. So we've taken multiple steps, and even prior to this video coming out, I'm going to make sure there's certain loose ends covered up just to be sure for his own safety. But it like from his regard and my regard, or from his point and my point, it is not. None of this is over exaggerated, even to the slightest. Like it's rough.
It's horrible, man. I mean,
Yeah.
I can tell you more stuff, but I want to keep the conversation going so we don't extend this too much.
Yeah.
So if you have any other question?
Well, I guess another one with, people. So there's been a bit of a, conversation coming up with the, how do I say this? With the topic of Maduro being pulled out of Venezuela. And there's been people, a large chunk of people, saying that Venezuelans don't understand what's coming, that even like they're celebrating that they're going to be turned into a slave colony, or obviously that's very exaggerated speech coming from those people, but that you guys are going to be turned into a slave colony. You guys are going to end up staying the same. You're going to have a new fascist controlling you guys, effectively saying you guys don't know better for yourselves. I guess it kind of ties in with how you feel about the U.S. coming into power, but it's more so from everybody across the pond here in the U.S. saying that you guys are almost too stupid to know what's better for your country. How does that, I really am curious, how does that make you feel?
It not only angers me because, someone speaking about my country without knowing anything about my country, it really gets you angry, yeah. And second, I feel sad because I know there's people out there that prefer to just be on the side of one side of the page instead of just looking at the bigger picture from the outside. Like, I can tell you this: the opposition in my country is not the best. They are as corrupt as as the Venezuelan government.
Yeah.
But they have fought all these years to get them out of power, which is something I appreciate. But at the same time, I have to say that please, for the love of God, if you're fighting with a Venezuelan in internet, that he's expressing his joy because he's finally seen the person who has tortured thousands, who have killed thousands, kidnapped, has ruined the country to a state that is almost unrepairable, as I said before. Try to teach them about things they have seen with their own eyes. You're not going to go anywhere. You're just going to look as a person who basically is ignorant for what it's saying. As I said, look, everyone has the points and opinions they can share, and everyone can share them freely. I'm not going to censor you or criticize you because of your opinion. I am going to criticize you for the points you bring, though. Also saying that Venezuela is going to become like Iraq is really, really, really
stupid.
a fallacy.
So stupid. It is.
It is not stupid in a sense of what people are saying. Yes, they have a point on that, but at the same time, they don't know Venezuela that much to actually think. What happened in Iraq was that the U.S. went, they put a new government, and left. They didn't have any elections. They put someone in power, and all of the sudden, because a country run by Muslims, mostly Muslims, I'm not criticizing the religion, I'm not being selective or racist here, or anti-Semitic or anything, but Muslims have a way of governing that is really different from ours, and basically putting a person that is not Muslim in a country full of Muslims is not going to go well. Yeah. And it didn't go well.
Yeah.
Everything decentralized and everything fell. That is true. But now you have to look at other countries that went under U.S. intervention. Okay, let me open my little page in here.
Yeah.
Panama, it happened the same with Maduro.
Conveniently on the same day, too. All those years ago, which is crazy.
They went in, they basically tricked him into thinking he was being invaded and attacked the U.S. and the U.S. attacked back. And in less than 3 days, he was extracted out of his country. Now, it has been almost 37 years since this happened, and Panama is now the country with the biggest GDP per capita in the entire South America. It is one of the most developed nations in Latin America and Central America. It's the nation that brings more money in South America because of the Panama Canal. And the Americans had control over it. And just recently they gave it back, and nothing has changed since. The first time I've been to Panama, I was amazed because it was something I'd never seen before. It's a city with so much advancement. Now we're looking at South Korea. After World War II, America put full control under it. And holy hell, now you see South Korea and Japan, both countries that were controlled by America after the war, are now the most developed and most advanced technological countries in the world. One of the biggest economies in the world. Now, let me look at Chile. After the terror also went down, even with U.S. intervention, Chile is now the most developed nation in South America. By themselves, they managed to go further than everyone could have imagined. These are just some examples I took out of my pocket, but there's many examples of U.S. intervention that have made the country even better. It's just that people decide to focus on the bad things because it's better and more attention calling to focus on the bad things than focus on the good things. So what I'm saying to people that Venezuela is not Iraq. It's an insult to us to call it Iraq because, first of all, Venezuela is a country mainly populated by Catholic people. It's a country mainly populated by Latinos, wildly different spectrum of people thinking. And we know that Maduro has done way worse things than Saddam Hussein has done. And Saddam Hussein invaded an entire country. While he just tortured, killed anyone who opposed him. I'm just saying, we're not Iraq. Things are going to happen to Iraq because it's not the same page of history. Things are changing. And to be fair, it's better for Maduro to be out because he basically evaded more explosions in his country because they were going to keep finding him. That's closing this page. What I'm trying to say is that don't lecture us on things that you have no idea about. Don't lecture us about things and how should we feel about this. Don't lecture us on how we should look at the other side of history because you read a page on Twitter or read opinions on Twitter and all of a sudden you think you're smarter than us. No. You people, I'm talking about a specific group of people that are in the side of a government, you have never went through hunger. You have never went 3 months without electricity. You don't have to wait for water to come once a week just for you to shower. You don't have to wait in long lines to get fuel for your car. You don't have to wait 2 days to get groceries. You don't have to wait multiple years to afford a car, and you don't have to work as much as a low minimum worker pays just to afford food for a week. You guys are privileged. We are suffering, and yet you're trying to lecture us on why we're gonna suffer. No, we already did, and we are already facing what this government did to us. And a source solution here can show images of what happens in Venezuela during its main crisis in 2017 and what is going on today. You see nothing has changed. Everything's still the same. A country with more than 50% of the population in extreme poverty is something that is not okay. Maduro had to go, and he had to go now. He wasn't a president. He wasn't a leader. He's a tyrant. He's a dictator. He's a criminal.
This interview is oriented towards you, but just to kind of throw a little note in there from earlier when I was kind of, looking into stuff when you mentioned that we should do this video, I'm almost appalled. Like, again, this isn't me trying to make an objective question or anything. This is for the viewers. Some of my statements will be very opinionated, and that's kind of the point of this interview, to kind of get a first-hand look of what's going on inside. But I am realistically horrifically appalled to see that how many people have this mindset that looking at the Venezuelan people, like, I grew up in Miami. Doral, people would call it Doralzuela. Like, it's where all the Venezuelans who left during the 80s, 90s, early 2000s to, take whatever money they had and get settled there, kind of settle. So to see all of Doral, enjoy and all this, and then there's so much, like, negativity pushed back on them because, you guys don't know what you're celebrating. It's America. They're gonna ruin you. Like, it's like, man, it's almost soul crushing to see. And I'm one who never really gives a shit when it comes to, like, this isn't necessarily political. I guess calling this political is a bad way to look at it, because it's not. It's a world event that changed everything for the better. But to see so many people, like you said, lecture you guys on how to feel, it's insane to me. I guess the last question I'm gonna have until I let you take this whichever direction you want would be, what do you personally think happens within a 5-year time frame from Venezuela at this very moment? Obviously, it's extremely volatile, but in your mental frame, have you kind of structured what to maybe expect, or like what you would like to happen? I just, like, have you created a timeline of what you think Venezuela will be within the next months? Is already a crazy guessing game, but I guess in the long term, what do you think is going to go down? How do you see Venezuela? Do you finally see Venezuela go back to its form like it was in the 60s and 70s, where they were a completely self-sufficient system, or it becomes a whole different entity to begin with? Like, what do you think?
It's, that's a really hard question to answer because, of course, every time we as Venezuelans imagine a future be different, it just ended up being something just upside down.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something I don't really like myself imagining, but at the same time, I know that Diosdado and Delcy Rodriguez and all the others are not going to give power so easily. They're as corrupt and as criminally charged as Maduro himself. And I know what I'm saying will be extremely bad, but I know there's going to be a big conflict in here. There's going to be something big that is going to happen, that already more big than already happened today. And from what I want from this is that simply things to change. A new government to be established. The constitution to be written back from what it was before Chavez and Maduro modified it. A constitution that allows dictators to stay in power no matter what they do. A constitution that has become a suggestion more than the law. It's It's something that I want to see change. I want a future for my future children, a future for my nephews, a future for the kids of many people to see Venezuela in a bigger light, see Venezuela in a better light than it is today. I was lucky to grow up in a family that could recover and self-sufficient itself to develop myself. But I know many people are not fortunate for this. Many children in my country do not have education. Many children in my country do not have to feed themselves. They are in the streets asking for money or working at a young age just to afford a meal a day. It's something I really want to see different. I want to see the Venezuela that my parents have told me about. My grandparents have told me everything about how you could simply, with a single coin, and you had an entire meal for yourself. A Venezuela that had the best metro system in the world, a country that first developed itself, a country that developed it so quickly that it was at the same power as the United States of America. It's something I want to see because we have the potential, and everyone knows Venezuelans have the potential for this, but we cannot do anything. But there's a criminal putting the works on everything, and all the money is going to its allies and not us, not the citizens. And of course, I know many people are going to tell me the sanctions this and the sanctions have you for this, and no, the sanctions have done nothing to us. The sanctions are directly applied to Maduro and its group. And you basically know nothing about sanctions if you think they're affecting us directly. No, they're not. All the things that are bad about the country is because the government is so incompetent of doing anything. We are living in a crisis because of them. What a country. You have to sign a paper, or you have to give your ID to receive a box of food a month just to survive. It's something that I really don't want to see anymore. I want to go back to the times and grow up in a place that my parents saw as paradise. A place that everyone from all around the world visited and stayed because they knew it was a great place to live in. I'm talking about Italians, Portuguese, Chinese, Japanese, Koreans, Americans, Canadians, British. All those people came to my country and developed it. But Chavez did what he did best and expropriated everything. Tell them to go away and we don't want to see you again. That's when everything started to go down. I want a developing nation again, and as I said, a brighter future for my country. One where we don't have to talk. We don't have the fear of talking. We don't have the fear of speaking out. We don't have the fear of getting arrested. We don't have the fear of getting pointed with a gun on the face or be assaulted at night in the streets. Not having the fear of expecting things to go down and things to go in the worse because you know your government's going to do it anyway.
It's kind of heavy, to really internalize it. For anybody watching at home, if you guys have ever, I guess, more specifically to anybody who's ever lived through Venezuela and gone through this, I'm sure you guys can relate to this. But for us who've lived across the way, and I only have really ever had family that has lived in Venezuela in some point in time, but in which they were older, they were in the better periods and then left before all of it went to shit. Or in V's case and a handful of other people's case where I've had friends who've lived over there. It's one thing to try and sympathize for it over here, but to really try and internalize it is something I found difficult. Like, it's rough. I imagine. I imagine it's rough, but I guess going forward, however you want to take this, you can go from here. My questions are set. Unless you can just take it away.
I do have something to say about people that want to help. The only way you can help right now is to sit and wait for things to happen. Sadly, there's not really anything you will do will change. And yes, it's something that is difficult to say for myself even, but things have already happened and they will continue to happen no matter what we do. Things are gonna go to the best or the worst. We still don't know. And if you want to help us, talk to us. Talk to us Venezuelans that have gone through all of this. Talk to us Venezuelans who are celebrating that Maduro has been arrested and now he's facing his crimes. He's facing his murders and he's facing his dictatorship in the court of law. Ask us. Don't go around saying you know better than us because you think you read something on Reddit and all of a sudden you're smarter than us. No, that's not how it works. If you don't know a Venezuelan, if you have never been to Venezuela, and if you're a person who doesn't have direct contact with Venezuelans, don't go and give your opinions to affect others. It's gonna not only damage you, but it's gonna damage others. And it's gonna just put more fuel into the fire. And any people who are trying to defend right now, I'm just saying is, stop it. Just let us share this moment that we have waited for the past 20 years. It's something we as Venezuelans wanted to change. We wanted this. You telling us that we should feel sad about it, it's not going to change our opinion. We're happy about this. If you see a protest of people claiming that and telling the Trump to free Maduro, you're gonna do me a favor and you're gonna stand there and ask every and each one of them if they're Venezuelan or if they know someone from Venezuela. I guarantee you, almost none of them are Venezuelan, or none of them are Venezuelan, and almost none of them know of an actual real Venezuelan. Those people are living in a bubble. As I said before, you all live in privilege. The first time I went to the US, I was amazed on the things you could do in there, something that I couldn't even imagine you could do. You're telling me there's an app to call a car and they take you really anywhere. You're telling me I have Wi-Fi everywhere I go and I can just access it without risking myself losing my mobile data because I wasted it on my money. You're telling me I can actually educate myself even if I pay for it and I actually have good education. I can graduate and become a professional without risking much. That's something that my little younger self thought was impossible. Thought that I couldn't see this, and when I saw with my own eyes, I knew my country was in this state it was because of these people. It's things that, as a person, you have to think about is that, hey, let's stop about worrying about Maduro and that. Let's worry about the Venezuelan people and their opinions about it. And let's let them have their opinions. Let's let them speak up. Because sadly, we don't have the privilege as you do. Sadly, we cannot speak up because of you. There's a reason why there's 8 million Venezuelans and even more Venezuelans out of my country, and they have left my country for a reason. They just didn't left it because they wanted to. They left it because they needed more opportunities. They wanted a future for themselves, and they know they live in oppression. And then all those Venezuelans living outside of my country are now have free speech and they're speaking out. Let them speak out because they're doing something they couldn't do themselves. They're doing something that is a right to them, not something that they're going to get arrested for. And please don't go around harassing us, telling us we don't know what we're talking about. We know what we're talking about because, unlike you all, we have faced the horrors of humanity with our eyes. And you guys have simply just gone to a Starbucks, order a fucking drink with phone in hand, not worrying about getting killed, while people in Venezuela are starving to death. They don't have any kind of technology to reassure themselves with, and having the fear of getting assaulted at any moment by a criminal with a gun in its hand. That's something you have to think about. We have lived through the worst moments in my country. It's the only era of my country I lived through, because when I was born, the same government Trump just took out is the same government where I was born in. Take in mind, I'm 21 years old. My whole life has been the same government. What you all already had Obama, had Trump, Biden, and then Trump again. And all those presidents, Maduro was in power. 4 presidents have gone through in power, and Maduro was still in power. And you're telling me you guys are suffering democratically. No, you guys have one of the biggest democratic systems in the world. Your vote actually matters. My vote didn't matter because because Maduro said it doesn't matter to me, and I decide who wins. Another point I want to take out right now is about the oil argument that no, America just wants your oil. America just wants you for your oil. Yes, part that is true. Trump does want oil for really obvious reasons. We're talking about a system and a industry that was founded by Shell and Chevron, two of the biggest oil companies in the United States. Those refineries are built by Chevron and owned by Shell and Chevron since the 50s. Those are their properties. But Chavez, basically what he did was just take them out and this is ours now. Yes, the oil is ours, but at least Shell and Chevron paid their part and paid the Venezuelan government to extract oil. And that's how we became the richest country in the world.
And if I am correct, sorry to interrupt, for those who are a little bit interested on that number, back then, this number is adjusted from just estimates back then. Shell and Chevron found $17 trillion worth of oil in Venezuela's current reserves. That's not including anything that they may have found as of recent. The number from the 60s and 70s where they found this oil is in the 17 trillions. So it's kind of a major point where people say that they're trying to take their oil. America could not even handle that much, so it is not like we are going to leave Venezuela dry. Sorry to interrupt. I've just found.
No, don't worry. It's a really good point you brought it, and also at the same time, remember that America wasn't the only oil company in here. Mm-hmm. It was also South African, British, Spanish, and French oil companies in my country extracting and actually moving that oil. And if you think Venezuelan oil is about to get stolen, I don't know what rock you live under, or I know because people now are worried about Venezuela when we have been suffering for the past 27 years, and now because Trump did something this big, everyone's now worried about Venezuela. You're telling me that the Russians didn't want oil? You're telling me that the Russians just came in, talked with Maduro, same with the Chinese and the Cubans and the Iranians. They came in just to be friends with Maduro, to be really, to go to the bitches. Like, they just wanted the recipe for the arepa, right? They just wanted some hallacas.
Fuck
no. Those guys wanted oil, and they still have it. China has 5 oil refineries right now in our coastline, and they're not paying nothing. All the barrels of oil that are being extracted from there are not being paid to us. The Chinese government is just taking it and leaving. Same with Russia. Russia has 2 oil refineries in our coastline. They're not paying anything because the Maduro government, they're just letting them do it for free. It's a way for the Maduro government to basically cope with international relationships and money. To not be alone. They did it with same with Iran. They're giving Iran a lot of natural resources that are supposed to be ours. Natural resources that are supposed to be for the Venezuelan people. Oil that is supposed to be for the Venezuelan people. All of it ended up in Iran. You're telling me that we're about to get stolen? No, they're stealing us. And they have been stealing us ever since 2006, when Chavez allowed Russia to have its hands on our country. Cuba is inside of country, and they're receiving oil for free. They're receiving internet for free from an underwater cable that is going to the country. And you're telling me that America's going to steal oil? No. At least when American companies were here, they actively traded with our government because our oil wells are privatized. This means that every oil that is extracted there, a percentage of that has to go to the Venezuelan people. And that's how we develop. And I don't understand what is your argument, how a country with the biggest oil reserve in the world, bigger than Saudi Arabia, bigger than Canada, bigger than any country, somehow has been suffering a fuel shortage for the past 10 years. How a country that is so rich in fuel, so rich in oil, doesn't have fuel. You have to do hours in lines, just to get half a tank of fuel in your car. Don't you think there's something wrong in there? Don't you think that, damn, where all the oil is going? It's going to Chavez's partners, to Maduro's partners and Maduro's friends, because that's the way to keep the relationships. They're not going to the Venezuelan people. They're drying it up for themselves, and for Russia, and for Iran, for Cuba, and for China. China has been doing the same in Peru. They have been taking all the fishes out of the sea for themselves, and they're not paying the Peruvian government any penny. The fishes of the waters of Peru have been taken by them, and they just leave without any compensation. This is the Venezuelan you want, right? This is the Venezuela people wanted, that people in the internet want, that Democrats want, that people who don't know anything want. We don't care about the oil. We just want things to change. But as I said, just because America wants oil doesn't mean we're doomed. We already were doomed. Our oil has already been stolen, and our natural resources are being stolen as we speak. And they're giving away to Russia, China, Iran, and many others. So, yes, America can have the oil, because at least with America, we can develop. We developed, and we proved to them that we developed. We showed the world that we have the capabilities of handling this oil and benefit everyone and ourselves, not benefit a certain group of people. The oil is not only being recovered for Americans too, it's also being recovered from us. The oil belongs to Americans and Venezuelans themselves. They don't belong to the Russians. It doesn't belong to the Iranians, and it doesn't belong to the Chinese. It belongs to us Americans. We are all the same continent. We are all born from the same kind of people. We are all brothers in this continent. We shouldn't let foreign powers take over control of something that belongs to us. America can have the oil because they can exploit it. And we can have the reserve of oils because we can manage it. If we cannot exploit it and we cannot manage it, as it is now and today, we ended up as it is, the most hyperinflated country in the world. The American country with the highest poverty rate and the highest criminal rate in the world. The country with the most hunger in America. All this because of a government that just got in power by force to coup d'etats that killed hundreds of people and won the elections and then stayed in power forever. There needs to be a change now. And the change is now. Things, I know they're going to change. And I want them to see flourish. And I will say it now. You can be against what Trump is doing. You can. What Trump did is something barbaric, in my opinion. It's something that shouldn't have happened. But it was about to happen, no matter what you said. And please, for the love of God, don't be against us or against the Venezuelans, just to be against Trump. I understand the hate Trump has. I understand why people don't like it. But just because Trump did something doesn't mean you have to be against everyone else that is in close to Trump's spectrum. No. We Venezuelans are celebrating because this is something we wanted. This is something we asked for. This is something we prayed about. This is something that doesn't concern you. It concerns us. So, to all my Venezuelan brothers, I want to say that please keep celebrating, and keep raising your voice to everyone of what's happening today. Because a free Venezuela is something that we all want. A free country of tyranny and dictatorship and corruption is something we all dream of. Something we haven't seen for the past 27 years, and something we are about to achieve. And if you're not Venezuelan hearing this message, please just listen and open your ears and don't criticize. Just look at the bigger picture and let ourselves our opinions, not you. Okay? Don't be against something just to be against something else, or to be in favor of something just to be against something. Just open your eyes and open your ears and don't be so ignorant, and talk to us. We're here. We can still have the freedom of speaking outside of our country. That's pretty much all I have to say.
Yeah, that's
right now I'm just waiting for things to calm down so I can actually go outside, but yeah, it's a hard situation, I know, and I know blood is going to be spilled, but sadly it's something we cannot evade.
yeah.
But at the same time, if it's the only way we can get freedom, it's the only route we can take.
I was gonna say, yeah, John Venezuela for you there, folks, but that probably would have been very poorly timed there, especially with you mentioning blood being spilled. It's kind of crazy, you know. Personally, this is more of a personal anecdote. I'm not trying to speak for all of America here, but it's kind of crazy to have something so closely tied to something like this going down. Like, you know, if I was just anybody else who didn't have any sort of connection to what's going down right now, I mean, I'd look at it and be like, damn, that's crazy, and kind of move about my day. But you know, knowing the shit that's happened there, and knowing what it's like, seeing what it's like, I guess it puts a bit more obviously personal value into it. But to really see the entire encompassing nature of this, and it changed like just overnight. Like, people say change doesn't happen overnight. You know, this is a very, very rare instance of where it quite literally did. The entire mindset of the entire world looking at Venezuela changed overnight, and I think that's crazy to me. It's you know, it, of course I could just keep saying it's crazy, because that's all I really have. I can't say from this far when I'm not inside of it.
Oh, it's fine. What matters is that you have the eye on us and you are keeping an eye on everything that's happening. That's what matters right now. And yeah, and for you to keep in touch with people that are going through this, it's all that you need to do. There's not much we can do either. So
I was about to say to any of the viewers, if you guys have questions, ask them now, as if we were streaming, and I'm always Jesus. But if you guys do have answers or have questions you guys would like to ask, put them in the comments. I'll ask them, and I mean, maybe we get a follow up, or whenever there is a, hopefully not as violent and not as bloodshedding event as what currently went down. But if there is another event that needs to be addressed, we would. I'm assuming we would be down to do that. Because there is going to be a lot of stuff going forward within the next few months. I'm willing to say months to begin with, because it is going to be a very volatile time for Venezuela. But, I want to thank V for actually coming up with the idea to do this, because I was going to do a video myself just talking about this. And, I when he hit me up with the idea of, hey, do a video on this, but I want to be in it, and I was like, oh, all right, I'm 100% down. That sounds great.
Yeah, I just want to give people my perspective as the Venezuelan host witness what just happened.
100%. Yeah.
I want to give people my opinion on what is going on. And first, before you finish the video, I want to say something to those Democrats who are defending Maduro now. Where were you in 2017 when thousands of protesters got killed by the National Guard? Where were you when in 2013 the people of Venezuela were going to the most horrible hunger in the entire world? Where were you when that 12-year-old boy got kidnapped by the government and killed? Where were you when thousands and hundreds of political prisoners got tortured to death and their bodies nowhere to be found? Where were you when all of a sudden Chavez came in and started attacking everyone in 1992? Where were you in 2024 when all the Venezuelans went out the street after Maduro supposedly and he claimed to won the elections? Where were you then? All of a sudden everyone's with Venezuela because Trump did something. You have no right, dude. You are doing this for the trend. You're doing this because it's popular now, but you have never been there before. Ever since our protest in 2017, where I saw in television and with my own eyes people getting killed by the government, by the National Guard, with live fire, with grenades, with sniper rifles in their faces, people being disappeared and kidnapped and no longer heard of, all of a sudden died. Where were you then? You're now here. Mr. I'm so proud to be a Democrat and I want to be in favor of Maduro. Where were you? You're not in favor of the Venezuelan people. You're just in favor of what's popular now, just to criticize Trump, or just to criticize the other spectrum of the political side you are not in. You had this much time to speak out for Venezuela, yet you all decided to ignore us. Just like you did with Ukraine, just like you did in Yemen, just like you all did in Palestine and Israel. You just turn a blind eye and go for the next big popular thing. That's it. That's the only coping thing I really need to say.
I need to preface this to everybody watching. A lot of this video was covered with visuals. the reason I am wearing the ski mask, and I'll turn it on in the voice chat for V to see here. I am not actually trying to crack a joke. It got very cold in my house randomly, so I put this on to warm my face up. I swear I'm not trying to be funny. It's a lot. And this video, I'm going to put a lot of work into this video. I mean, I'm telling you guys this as if you guys just haven't watched it. But this is something that, you know, when I put very serious topics on anything related to myself out there in the public, I try to give it the respect it deserves. So, and this is also kind of like telling V this, that this is going to be a bit of a big project to undergo. He's going to be working with me on it, on getting visuals and things he thinks we should have on it. But I guess just a thank you, to speaking out on everything. And I guess I do have one last question for you, right? So you do know how we're sending Maduro to New York for him to be prosecuted by the international court in front of international judges, and then to be sentenced to prison here in Florida.
Yeah.
I've also seen some Venezuelans who live in the States, specifically in Florida, saying, have him sent to a Venezuelan prison. Some people have said it's a good gesture to say, hey, we inevitably keep him locked up in the same country he ruined. And some people are just like, that's an awful idea because of the military force. Like, where do you stand on that? I don't know if you've seen this, because this has just kind of been just recently popping up too.
Yeah, no, it's something I also told myself about, but right now he cannot be sent to Venezuela for obvious reasons. I think he could be sent to Venezuela when the government finishes a transition and everything is back to normal. He has to serve the sentence in the place where he committed those crimes. He had to serve the sentence in the country he affected the most. He had to serve the sentence in the place he committed all of these crimes. Yeah. International crimes against humanity, crimes against people, and illegal kidnappings, drug trafficking, and even human trafficking. All of this is gonna be counted for. Mm-hmm. Right now, what we're waiting right now is for him to get judged and to be sentenced for it. He has to stay in America right now because that's where he's getting judged. But I think in the future, when things stabilize, he might be sent over here. Yeah, something I also want to bring out is that, yes, he could get empowered, release that, but at the same time, he now is on a position of no power. Mm-hmm. Thank God he's not in a position of no power.
Yeah.
And if he gets to Venezuela, there's still a lot of cartel members who are going to want him back. Mm-hmm. Same what happened with Pablo Escobar, for example. He escaped prison so many times. But I'm sure Maduro's not going to have the same fate because, to be honest, no one really likes him. Yeah. No one really wants to be next to him. So, yeah. Also, to keep in mind about Cartel de los Soles and Tren de Agua, that's the main objective of Trump right now, is to delete and destroy these both cartels in the next year or even this year if it's possible. These two cartels are the main targets for Trump because they're the main developers of drugs in the entire South America and the main exporters of drugs and human trafficking in all of America. They are also responsible for a lot of crimes in the US and responsible for a lot of kidnappings and human trafficking inside of the US. So that's the main point. Maduro has direct contact with them because he pays them to do this. He's basically one of the main people in charge of this whole cartel thing. And to be fair, him running right now is one of the best things you could see. So I'm thankful that he's in there. I'm not going to thank Trump, of course, because he literally just won my country. But I'm going to thank the American people and all of the soldiers and brave soldiers who managed to capture him. Yeah, that's basically what I say thank you. You don't have to apologize to us. You guys have done nothing wrong. You guys have done nothing to us. We're thanking you for actually doing something we couldn't do because we're powerless. And I just wanted to thank all the American people, all the European people who are with us right now that are supporting our cause, that are happy that Maduro is captured. And please keep an eye on us. Don't go away. And if you want to, please leave the comments. Leave the questions on the comments if you want to ask anything. I will be more than happy to answer.
Well, I think I should be the one answering and not Not you.
Yeah, but it's just in case.
Yeah, I feel you. Well, yeah. I mean, unless there's any last like statements,
Not
I think
really right now. Just
yeah.
waiting for things to change right now. But at the same time, I just wanted to say, Venezuela Libre, la libertad se nos acerca en la puerta de la casa y el amanecer de mañana va a ser mucho más brillante de lo que vemos hoy en día. No hay que rendirnos, no hay que hacernos por los vencidos. Las cosas se van a poner más duras de lo que ya están. Las cosas van a ponerse peor de lo que están. Pero sabemos que en el futuro vamos a ser libres y ganarnos y tener esa libertad que tanto hemos deseado.
It's a good note to end
That's
there.
it. Yeah.
That was a good note.
That's it then.
That was good. It was good. Bad news. I forgot to hit record. I'm fucking with you.